Imagine two slices of raw fish on a plate. One came from the ocean, one came from a river. If you had to guess which one is more likely to cause a long, stealthy infection in a human body, most people would choose the one with more worms, more parasites, more danger. Simple. Except that's not actually the hidden rule. In some cases, the fish with the more dramatic-looking parasite is the less biologically compatible threat. And the fish that seems clean can be the one that changes your health for years. Because with raw fish, the real question is not just what's inside the meat. It's this: when that parasite enters you, are you food or are you home? People often hear a simplified rule: sushi-grade saltwater fish is okay if handled properly. But wild freshwater fish sashimi is a gamble you really should not take. That sounds like one of those kitchen myths that got exaggerated over time. After all, the ocean is full of parasites. Marine fish absolutely carry them. In fact, some marine parasites are notorious enough that diners, chefs, and food inspectors all know their names. So why does freshwater raw fish have such a different reputation? Why do public health agencies in many countries repeatedly warn against eating raw or undercooked freshwater fish, especially wild-caught fish, while regulated raw marine fish can still be served after proper freezing protocols? The answer is not that saltwater fish are parasite-free. They are not. The answer is more unnerving. Different parasites are playing different games with your body. Some marine parasites treat humans like an accident. Some freshwater parasites can treat humans like the plan. Let's start in the ocean. A well-known hazard in raw or undercooked marine fish is anisakis, a parasitic roundworm. Its normal life cycle runs through the sea. Tiny crustaceans, then fish or squid, then marine mammals such as dolphins, seals, or whales, where the worm becomes an adult and reproduces. Humans are not supposed to be in that story. When people eat infected raw marine fish, the larva can burrow into the stomach or intestinal wall and trigger anisakiasis. And that can be dramatic. Severe stomach pain, nausea, vomiting. Sometimes symptoms begin within hours. In some cases, the worm is even removed by endoscopy. So this is not harmless. But biologically, the key point is that humans are usually a dead-end host. The parasite can invade, but it typically cannot mature and complete its normal life cycle inside us. Now compare that with several dangerous parasites associated with freshwater fish, especially in parts of Asia and Eastern Europe, where certain traditional raw fish dishes exist. Among the most important are fish-borne liver flukes, including species such as Clonorchis sinensis and Opisthorchis viverini. Their life cycles are different from anisakis in one crucial way. These flukes pass through snails, then freshwater fish, and finally into fish-eating mammals, including humans. That means if a person eats raw, undercooked, pickled, fermented, or otherwise inadequately processed infected freshwater fish, the parasite is not merely crashing the wrong party. It may be arriving exactly where evolution prepared it to go. After existing in the small intestine, the juvenile fluke can migrate into the bile ducts of the liver. There, it can live for years, sometimes decades if untreated, feeding, irritating tissue, and setting up chronic inflammation. This is the hidden reason the risk feels so different. A marine parasite like anisakis can cause an immediate medical emergency because your body reacts violently to an invader that does not belong there. But in many cases, it has no future inside you. A liver fluke is frightening for the opposite reason. It may not announce itself dramatically at first. Many infections cause mild symptoms or none at all in the early stage, and that silence is part of the danger. If the parasite can survive in the biliary system for years, the damage becomes cumulative. Repeated irritation and chronic inflammation can lead to bile duct disease, gallbladder issues, recurrent infection, and in heavily affected endemic regions, a sharply increased risk of cholangiocarcinoma, a cancer of the bile ducts. In other words, one kind of parasite hurts because it is incompatible with you. The other can hurt because it is compatible enough. And here's the twist that overturns the usual instinct. The problem is not simply parasite load. A fish packed with parasites is obviously unappetizing, and any parasite exposure matters. But parasite biology matters more than parasite optics. A visible worm in a marine fillet can be alarming because you can actually see it. By contrast, the infective stage of liver flukes in freshwater fish is tiny and easy to miss. Your eyes are not doing the safety inspection you think they are, So the more dangerous raw fish is not always the one that looks worse. It can be the one whose parasite is nearly invisible and perfectly adapted to use a human as the final host. That is a very different kind of threat. Not a smash and grab, a lease agreement. This is also why a lot of folk safety tricks are unreliable. People sometimes assume citrus juice, alcohol, salt, spicy sauces, or brief marination will make raw fish safe. They do not reliably kill these parasites. Traditional preparations like ceviche-style acid treatment, light curing, or some forms of pickling and fermentation may change flavor and texture without eliminating the infective stage. For parasite control, the proven tools are adequate cooking or freezing under time and temperature standards designed for that purpose. Regulations vary by country, species, and whether fish are aquaculture raised or wild caught. But the broad principle is consistent. Raw safety depends on process, not freshness alone. A fish can be caught this morning and still be dangerous raw tonight. Notice the wording here. Not every fish that spends time in fresh water carries liver flukes. Not every region has the same parasite burden. Farmed fish raised under controlled feed and water conditions can have very different risk profiles from wild fish. And some freshwater species are linked to other parasites too, not just liver flukes. But as a practical rule for a diner, wild freshwater fish is the category that deserves the strongest caution when served raw. Especially if the source is unknown, the fish is self-caught, or the dish comes from a tradition where raw freshwater fish has historically transmitted infection in endemic areas. The broad warning exists because once the wrong freshwater parasite gets into a human host, the timeline of harm can stretch far beyond one bad night. Public health history makes this painfully clear. In regions where raw freshwater fish dishes are customary and liver flukes are common, millions of people have been infected. Health organizations, including the World Health Organization and the International Agency for Research on Cancer, have treated some of these fish-borne flukes as major carcinogenic hazards because of their association with cholangiocarcinoma. That sounds extreme until you remember what the parasite is doing: living in the bile ducts, chronically injuring tissue, and keeping inflammation going year after year. It is one of the eeriest patterns in food risk. The meal itself can feel uneventful. The consequences can emerge much later. So the next time you hear somebody say, "I'd eat that raw if it looks fresh," remember that freshness is not the hidden rule. Nature does not grade danger by appearance. It grades danger by life cycle. Some parasites in fish are temporary intruders in a human body, painful, dramatic, and biologically stranded. Others can read our organs like a map. That is why wild freshwater fish sashimi is a different category of risk. Not because the river is dirtier than the sea, not because every ocean fish is safe, but because in the wrong freshwater parasite story, you are not a detour, you are the destination.